From beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, it is the Neglected News Report. I'm your co-host, Scott Mitchell, along with my brother, Kevin.
Good afternoon.
And we apologize for not being around the last few weeks, folks, but the first week on the 14th, I had a previous engagement. I was actually out taking a course to get my concealed carry weapon permit. And Kevin was sick last week.
No, I've been sick for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was sick before he was.
Almost even. 2 weeks. I don't know. I had got something. It started in my lungs and went. It was.
Sounds like you got something similar to what I got.
Nasty. Actually, I get something every few years, and kind of stinks. Now that my children are grown up and I have no children at home,
you have no excuse now.
I stay pretty healthy. Yes, it's the children that bring all their germs home to you.
Yeah, I just got a really bad sinus infection. That was all my problem. It was the last week of February I got it, and I was like out the whole week except for Monday of that week.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. I never went to the doctor for it. So.
And then I went back to work the following Monday, and only lasted half a day, and I went home.
Yeah, I'm still hacking a little bit at night.
Yeah, well, I think I'm better, but I'll tell you what, they gave me this what they call a Z-Pack, which is like 3 days. I went in on a Thursday. Finally went to the doctor on Thursday of that week. Went in. Gave me a Z-Pack. I started taking it Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday. It's just 3 days worth of concentrated antibiotics. They gave me a azithromycin. Took it for 3 days, knocked the infection out, but my stomach felt like
Erythromycin used to do that to me. It's terrible. You better eat when you take one.
And I don't usually react like that to antibiotics, but this just tore the crap out of my stomach. It was terrible. Well, folks, we're gonna be winging it here today. Yeah, that's all right. No big deal.
Let's just consider just a conversation, like you and I talked on the phone earlier this morning. Just throw ideas back and forth and just pretend we're having a beer.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to pretend because I'm on call this week. But you know what? After this week, I am off for a whole week. That's right.
We can start talking about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, why not?
The 13 words you can't write about Hillary Clinton anymore.
And this is not, allegedly, this is not something that's been endorsed by her. But, she probably is. Even if it's not, she's loving it. Now,
this group that I guess backs her is called the HRC, stands for Hillary Rodham Clinton Super Volunteers. And
is that anything like the Super Friends?
I don't know. I don't know, but I'll guarantee you they're probably from Code Pink or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Medea Benjamin probably has something to do with it, I'll bet.
So they tweeted Amy Chozick from the Washington Post.
I thought she was the New York Times.
Well, this is on the Washington Post. Maybe
she's New York Times.
Is she New York Times?
Yeah, because they were commenting on Fox this morning that the New York Times is not really, has never been really a conservative newspaper. They usually support her, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah, this article is from the Washington Post, but she's with the New York Times. There we go. They tweeted her and they said, the Super Volunteers just warned me we will be watching, reading, listening, and protesting coded sexism.
Oh, I'd be scared.
Well, you see what this is? She's going to play the same old Obama game, except he did it with his race. Yeah. You can't criticize him, can't talk about anything.
Do you have the list of words there?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay.
And I just wanted to tell you what's playing out here. It's beginning.
Okay.
Sexist words, they say, include polarizing, the word polarizing, calculating, disingenuous, insincere, ambitious, inevitable, entitled, overconfident, and also sexist, according to them, are secretive and will do anything to win, represents the past and out of touch. So those are all the words.
Here's the way to look at it. Here's the way to look at it. Those are terms that have been used to describe Hillary, in the past. They want to put a kibosh on that. But by the same turn, those are words that she's used and the left has used to describe their political opponents on the right. Many, including Mitt Romney in the last election. And how can it be sexist if it doesn't apply to all women?
It can't. It's ridiculous, and everybody knows.
That's a rhetorical question, basically.
It's just. Here's okay. You know, Ted Cruz just announced that he was running on the Republican ticket, and of course, all the dimwits come out and say, "Well, he's stupid." Well, no, he's not stupid. He's a Harvard graduate. Alan Dershowitz, his law professor at Harvard, called him the most intelligent student he's ever had.
And Alan Dershowitz is a liberal.
Okay, so
a sensible liberal.
So basically, if it ever came down to Ted Cruz, which it probably won't, and Hillary Clinton in a debate, Cruz will make mincemeat of her. This is a preemptive strike right here. Mm-hmm. They're basically saying, "Hey, look, we're going to, we're going to, tell you what we're going to talk about, and that's it."
It's to take attention away from the email scandal.
Yeah, and they finished their tweet by saying to Amy Chozick, "You are on notice that we will be watching, reading, listening, and protesting coded sexism."
Sieg Heil!
You are on notice!
Sieg Heil!
Remember that old recording Rush Limbaugh used to play of Hillary screeching at the top of...
What was it? It was probably similar to Molly Yard.
We're mean.
No. Molly Yard used to be the head of the National Organization of Women, the national head, and she said, "This will not be tolerated." Oh, and she was a...
Can you imagine being married to that? Yuck! No wonder Bill was doing Lewinsky's.
I'm sorry. Hillary Clinton, there is no more arrogant, shrill, nagging sounding female politician out there on either side.
And I'm tired of this. She's the most intelligent woman in the world, the most accomplished and so forth. No, she's not. Whatever, first of all, whatever entitled her to become senator of New York. Basically, she's a carpetbagger. She's not even from New York.
Well, that's who was it making? They had who was it filled in yesterday for Levin? Michael Smerconish. Smerconish. He said Hillary didn't even get a position on the Rose Law Firm until Bill became Attorney General of Arkansas, and didn't become a partner until he became governor. That's how she got where she's at.
So now it's assumed that she deserves the presidency.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same mentality in '96 when Bob Dole ran against Clinton. It's my turn. It's the my turn mentality.
And she literally expects it to be handed to her. But you can't become president without at least debating. So she's going to be up on the stage, and without any parachute. Let's put it that way. She's going to be left to her own devices. And remember when she went on that stupid listening tour?
Listening tour.
When she was running for senator the first time.
I'm trying to remember. It's been a while.
She said, "Well, I'm going to go on a listening tour." Was it might have been president? I don't know. I forgot. When she was first deciding whether she was going to either Senate or the last time she ran against
she sponsored
Obama.
No meaningful legislation.
No, it was against her. It was when she wanted to run against Obama.
In 2008.
When she announced her potential intent, she said, "I'm going to go on a listening tour first." And so she hopped on her bus or broom or whatever, and she went around the country listening to the American people.
God.
Like she really gives a crap.
It's all about appearance. That's all. That's all it was.
Now Scott showed me her logo.
No, it's the group that HRC Super whatever.
Oh, is that their logo for her?
That's their logo for their group. That's their logo for their group.
Oh, okay.
It's not her logo.
She's on it. If she doesn't want to be on it, you better tell them. Mm-hmm. I'm sure she has their blessing. I'm sure they have her blessing. But anyway, it's a picture of Hillary with a red and white stripe background. It just shows her silhouette, a profile picture, and it says
she doesn't want.
It says Hillary 2016, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with communist imagery, but this was far from American. This didn't look American at all. This looked communist. And I trust me, my background is studying these creeps in communism, so I'm well aware of what the imagery looks like, and that's what this is.
All you have to do is look at any of the posters during the Russian Revolution. Yeah. To me, it reminded me of Eva Peron.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to create a bigger than life caricature. That's what it's cult of personality.
It's very idealized. I mean, they definitely photoshopped that. It's a picture of her in profile. Photoshop. I mean, she hasn't looked that good for a while. Let's put it that way.
She never did. Sorry, she's not a very attractive woman.
No, she's not. But relatively speaking, relative to what she looks like now, I'm not saying she looked good, but she looked better than she does now in the picture.
But that's what leftists do. They create this. Well, they did it with Obama. After he was elected, all these songs to him, and they do this in communist dictatorships. Remember, if you ever pay attention to North Korea and how they build up that pot-bellied little boy up there, they talk about, yes, Kim Jong-un. He played golf for the first time and he got 16 hole-in-ones. Yeah, I mean, they say ridiculous things like this. Remember when Obama won and the little school kids were Barack Hussein Obama. And this is what they do in communist dictatorships. In America, you need to be aware. You might find it funny, you might find it humorous, whatever, but it's not. It's done for a purpose. And this imagery, you're seeing, the Democrat Party is lost. Sorry. I mean, these are leftists.
Yep. You just can't call it the Democrat. This is not your dad's Democrat Party.
This is a new alignment. You've got the Democrat Party that is far left, socialist at the very least, quite possibly many in the party are communist. Then you've got the Rhino Republicans that are right where the Democrats used to be probably about 10 years ago. Then you've got what they call the far right Tea Party members are basically just constitutionalists, but we're considered wackos. We're crazy just because we want to lower taxes. That's what Tea Party stands for. Taxed enough already, T. You say. And we just want the Constitution to be obeyed. But somehow that's loony in today's world. Yet they're coming real close to unmasking themselves as to who they really are.
To quote that one guy that was running,
that must mean they're very close to getting what they want.
To paraphrase that, the guy that ran a few years ago for, was it governor of New York or mayor of New York City? The taxes are too damn high. For the guy.
Well, speaking of the mayor of New York City, what do you make of that guy?
What has he done?
De Blasio.
What did he do now? I must have missed it.
Nothing. He's an out and out communist.
No doubt about it.
Oh, you know where he and his wife went on their honeymoon?
Cuba.
As Ted Kennedy would say.
Cuba. Well, John Kennedy did too.
Yeah. So and he's been a big admirer of every communist dictator in Central America and South America for years. He just loves it. Well, he and Sean Penn.
We're normalizing relations with them now. So
he and Sean Penn. It's always amazed me that the people that gravitate toward that ideology are typically the most powerful and rich in this, who have gotten where they are in this country by virtue of free markets and capitalism. It's always amazed me. Never quite understood it. And another situation that's always amazed me is why American Jews vote for their own demise many times. For their they're right. They're the biggest, one of the next to the black population voted for Obama almost overwhelmingly, and yet look what he's doing. Look what he's doing to.
But yet there were a fair number of them that spoke up.
I think Dershowitz, by the way, is in that camp that doesn't really agree with anything Obama's doing.
No, but a lot of the Jews in positions of power did speak up. When was it? All the Hollywood people were speaking up. Was it when Obama said he wasn't going to recognize Netanyahu's visit here, or what? Was
some of them stepped up.
Enough of them did to be noticed.
But look what the man's doing right now. He's unilaterally behind Congress. The American people's back is negotiating with Iran right now as to whether.
Well, okay, that part is not bad. What's bad is if he got a treaty and tried to enforce it. That would be bad without the approval of the Senate. That's what would be the unconstitutional part.
Oh, you think he wouldn't do that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he wouldn't. I'm saying he probably would. Right now, what he's doing is negotiating a treaty right now is his constitutional duty.
But then he's got to put it forward.
That's what I'm saying. But
he won't do that.
The point is, he said he was going to try to enforce it himself. In not so many words, but he has said it.
He wants nothing to do with Congress.
No, he doesn't.
He's proven that already. He's a dictator.
Yeah.
And it depends, is America going to put up with it? Yeah, history tells me yes. No one really cares.
And what does a dictator do? Just by the nature of the word, he dictates. He says, this is what's going to happen.
What are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
Do you see what did he do this week? He showed sensitive Israeli nuclear intel.
Speaking of which, to copy Rush, here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers.
All right, let's not do that. We have our own brand.
I'm joking around. On February 12th, this is from the Weekly Standard. The Pentagon quietly declassified a top-secret 386-page Department of Defense document from 1987 detailing Israel's nuclear program. The first time Israel's alleged nuclear program has ever been officially and publicly referenced by the U.S. authorities. It gets better. In the declassified document, the Pentagon reveals supposed details about Israel's deterrence capabilities, but it kept sections on France, Germany, and Italy classified. Those sections are blacked out in the document. This is ridiculous. Why would you... Here, thinking about it, folks, why would you declassify a document and black out anything having to do with all your allies except for Israel, except for one? It's because you want to get at them. You want something to happen to them. You don't like them. Come on, is there anything more blatant than that?
So I ask you, Jewish people, what gives here? What about what he does do you not get it? Here's what I think. I think so many Jews are secularized, are secular anymore. They don't they don't get where. See, Obama, I really believe Obama's a Muslim. I really believe it 100%. He's never proved that he's a Christian.
And here's the thing: if you were in the room with a radical jihadist and you're Jewish, do you think it's really going to matter a whit to that guy that you're a secular Jew? You're a Jew. It doesn't matter that you don't believe in the religion you were raised in. It matters more that he believes in the religion he was raised in and radicalized too. It doesn't matter. He sees Jews. He doesn't care if you're secular or if you're spiritual. It doesn't matter. So you should be concerned about this, what's happening in Israel. They're your people. It's your religion.
Yeah, and most Muslim leaders don't, they don't make any bones about what their intention is.
The only exceptions I can think of are King Hussein in Jordan.
Yeah, what about what about driving the Jews into the sea? Don't you understand?
Right. And El Sisi, at least to this point,
and
in Egypt.
And this rhetoric has been going on for 1,500 years.
Mm-hmm. But you see, there have always been troubles in the Middle East. But, and I'm going to submit this for people to think about, but I mean, it's obvious to Kevin and me. It's gotten to the point where it's on fire all because of the policies of this president. Every policy.
Well, not only that, and you can take this for what it's worth, but there's a lot of biblical prophecy that's already come to pass.
I know, yeah.
I mean, the creation of the Jewish state, 1948. Mm-hmm. The only thing that hasn't happened is the desecration of desolation, desecration and desolation. What is it? When
I always forget.
The Antichrist comes and sits.
But they haven't rebuilt. They haven't rebuilt the temple yet. So
no, but
But you're probably thinking, and it's supposed to be modeled after the original Solomon's temple. Oh, that'll take years to build. No, it won't with modern building technology.
Yeah. Well,
You can have it up in no time.
they did the Golden Gate Bridge in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, folks, this guy is doing everything he can to destroy, to bring everything he's done has caused what's happening in the Middle East to happen. Who do you think created ISIS? Obama did. Not directly, but by stating right from the time he was inaugurated, we're going to pull troops out of Iraq on such and such a date. It left a power vacuum that was filled by what became ISIS. It was they were a branch of Al Qaeda, and it's just spread like wildfire.
And that so-called bombing campaign going on in Iraq is doing zero. It's, as a matter of fact, the Iraqis are complaining that a lot of the supplies that are being dropped are actually going into ISIS hands.
And is it any wonder that Iraq is kind of teaming up with Iran right now? And that's something you don't want. You don't want your so-called allies teaming up with the enemy. But it's happening. Well,
you know, now what do we hear? That Egypt and Saudi Arabia are going to go into Qatar, not Qatar, but that's not Qatar.
It's Qatar, it's called. Yeah, it's pronounced Qatar.
That's the country directly south of Saudi Arabia, right?
Yemen,
not Qatar.
It's Yemen, yeah.
Yeah, they're talking about.
They share a big border with each other too.
Yeah, the whole Middle East is on fire, and things were supposed to be just really good when Obama.
And keep in mind,
the oceans
folks,
we're going to go back to the normal levels. And
keep in mind that the northern coast of Africa is just about 500 miles from Europe. You know, that's a trip to California for us, to Disneyland for us.
And the fact that there wasn't a war back in 2012 is but by the grace of God, because Obama was intent on going into Syria with that trumped-up charge of Assad gassing his own people, which was false. And it was only because the American people were like 80% against any more military intervention.
Let's enumerate the things he's done that have brought this about. Pulled out prematurely out of Iraq. All right? Pulled out prematurely out of Afghanistan before the job was done. Did not help the Iranian people when they wanted to rebel against the Iranian government after the election about 6 years ago. What did they do in Libya? Libya and Egypt. They pretty much brought that about. The overthrow of Gaddafi in Libya and Mubarak in Egypt.
And Gaddafi was doing what he could to pacify the West. He was doing everything in his. I'm no fan of his because he wasn't a nice guy, but he was doing everything he could.
He was. Doesn't matter what the motivation was, he was still doing it.
Yeah, he was unjustly murdered.
What else was he doing? What else? What else?
What it's easier to do is to point to some of Obama's successes and things that he did in our own best interest, because I really can't think of any. Can you think of anything that's been actually beneficial that he's done for the United States?
Nope.
I just look around and I go, what from healthcare to now he's going to unilaterally raise taxes.
Hey, I got a question to ask too. So what is everyone doing with the $2,500 they were supposed to save on healthcare?
They're not.
That's a rhetorical question. I mean, this guy is the biggest liar. People around him are the biggest liars.
And I know that sounds, it just sounds partisan and so forth. But I mean, please tell me
prove us wrong.
Yeah, I mean, don't listen to what he says. Look at what he does. And George Bush was guilty of that too. Mm-hmm. I mean, he said a lot of things that weren't so.
Nope.
But this guy just takes it to a science, because I just think
he doubles down.
America is in some sort of a deep sleep. I don't know. I was with a group of friends the other day, and I'm pounding my fist on the table, just trying to get people passionate, and people are looking at me like, what was there? Is there a sports game on right now? Why are you getting so worked up?
And the other thing, on the other side of the coin, I'll talk at work to people. As a group, we'll have as many as 5 or 6 people in the room with us at any given time. and they'll talk about it, and they'll look at me like I'm some kind of a freak. But if I get someone, or at the most 2 people alone, one-on-one or one-on-2, they'll say, I agree with you. I know what you're saying. Then why didn't you say something when we were together as a group? People are so afraid of being labeled and marginalized and made fun of by agreeing with something that is they perceive as being 180 degrees opposite of what the mainstream is. They don't realize that the mainstream actually is in line with what they believe. The mainstream's just afraid to say something. It's like Richard Nixon said, the silent majority. I think that's in spades right now.
Well, Scott and I were talking earlier today. I think the most difficult person to get through in today's world, as it pertains to at least our economic situation, are those that are vested in 401ks, those that are invested in stocks, those that are invested in the paper economy that we find ourselves in. Those people you can't get through. When you say things like, well, this economy that we're living in, this quote unquote economy, I call it a zombie economy, is built on nothing. It's a corpse. It is rotten and stinking from within. They don't want to hear that because they are so invested in it. They get up every day and they look at their 401k, look at their stocks, and look how, and say to themselves, gosh, aren't I just great because I'm so smart. I'm putting all my money in with the smart money. No, buddy, the smart money's already left the stock market.
I get in this conversation at work, and everyone thinks that, especially at my age, I'm going to be 56 next month. They think that I'm crazy for not getting into the 401k at work because, well, they're going to match up to 5% every dollar that you put in there. And I'm saying, okay, but it's not real money. It's fake money. It's funny money. It's monopoly money. I don't know what you mean. I said, haven't you paid attention over the last 7 or 8 years? I mean, give
them a Fed 101 lesson.
And these are probably the same people who took a bath in 2008. I know a lot of people who had 401k plans that took a bath.
This next one, they're not recovering from.
Nope.
I read today in Zero Hedge that one of the reasons why the stock market is still doing what it's doing is because a lot of investors are going into bonds, and instead of that affecting the stock market, i.e. a lot of the money leaving the stock market and going into bonds, what's happening is those companies that are selling the bonds are taking the money that they're getting from investors and dumping it back into the stock market. So it's basically taking 5 gallons of water out of the deep end of the pool and sticking it in the shallow end. I
work with this one guy. He works from home most of the time, but every so often, like maybe once or twice a month, he'll pop into the office, and we'll usually toward the end of the day when most people are gone, we sit and just BS a little bit. And he's an older guy. He's like 63. He's a network technician, and he's told me that he invests in the market just long enough to make a little profit, takes it all out, and then uses the cash he gets to buy the things he needs. Like a new vehicle, cash clear, or supplies or whatever. And he invests in a little bit in metals and everything too. I mean, that's kind of a smart way to do it right now, as long as you don't go in really deep. Use it to get what you need right now.
Well, yeah, but you hear a lot of people whisper, the stock market's rigged. Well, it's rigged. It's rigged in a lot of different ways. I don't know if it's a nefarious type rig, although it very well could be. But one of the reasons they say it's rigged is because of computer trading. They've got these computers, these supercomputers that are so fast and they react faster than the normal trader can react, and that's where your big investment banks. That's why they're rich, and the average person can't compete with them because they're doing computer trading, and that the average person can't respond as fast.
They've got internet connections that beat anything we can get too.
I mean, within split seconds. I mean, that's how fast it is. It's like once info's out, it's reacted upon instantaneously.
Yep.
And they have logarithms, that they can rely on that just make it, almost fail-safe.
And I was talking to our mom this morning about this. I mean, the stock market and the housing industry. I'm watching this ad for a local builder. Homes from the 150s to the 500s. And I know some of you on the East Coast or in California, well, it's not that much money. Well, here it is.
Yeah.
Real estate-wise, $150,000 to $500,000 is a decent
Well,
home.
150 is not, but,
no, 150.
A $500,000 house is nice.
And I'm thinking that, is that really what those homes are worth? And I'm saying no. How can they be?
Of course, you have all the goobers come out. A house is exactly worth what someone's willing to pay for it.
Yeah, well,
No,
that's true with most things that are not rigged.
Let me tell you. Okay, so we're starting to see builders here in the Phoenix area start building again. Don't know why. And I'll get it.
When there's an inventory,
There's shadow inventory out there that the banks are still sitting on from the crash of 2008. Trust me, I go into them all the time. I know where they are. I can drive down any street and I can point to the vacant houses that are just sitting there. Yet we're being told that we're in this recovery. Therefore, the builders are building again. So I asked myself, okay, we've got 93 million people currently out of the workforce, not included in our unemployment numbers. We've talked about this many times. That's almost 1 in 3.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to buy these houses? Exactly.
But it's worse than that even, because that's 93 million out of the total population of the country, not out of the workforce. If you go by out of the workforce, the percentage is even higher. How many people work? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that 2/3 of the people in the country work. All right, that's 200 million people, give or take a few million. 93 equals almost 50%.
Okay, let's take it a step further. And of those people that are working, how many can qualify for a house right now? When you consider the hits people took on their credit from the last crash, along with the fact that companies are cutting people's hours due to Obamacare, who qualifies anymore?
No one.
Very few. As a matter of fact, I can tell you quite certainly who's buying the houses here in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's not the average Joe.
Banks.
And it's the investors.
Well, investors, yeah. Sorry.
Investors are big investments groups that are then going to turn them into rentals. Most of the people living in Phoenix right now, not most, many, are renters, and most of the rentals are owned by big conglomerates. Now, Scott and I have talked about this before. I'd love to take some time and do some research because I know who these investment groups are. I'd love to see who their ownership is. I guarantee there's Chinese in there. I'll guarantee there's a big Chinese ownership.
And just speaking about the American end of it, once again, the rich get richer.
There's one company here in town that I can tell you for a fact. This week alone, probably they put 30 to 40 new properties on the rental market. That means they just bought them, cash. And they go in with Cruz in a day or two, totally clean the places up, fresh paint, fresh carpet, fresh everything, ready for a new tenant. And then they hold on to them until the market decides it's going to go back up, which I don't know what dictates that anymore. Then they sell it.
And the thing about it is the owners dictate the rental, the monthly rent. I'll tell you what, I'm probably paying about I don't know, what's an average rent?
In this,
$800 a month?
In this neighborhood, you're probably going to get $1,000 to $1,100.
Okay. I'm paying my mortgage. I'm paying about 50% of what it would cost to rent.
Yeah, but the thing is that still a lot of people can't qualify
and that's including my taxes and insurance.
This so-called recovery in our economy. Let me just break it down as far as the real estate economy is concerned. It's a bunch of bunk. Okay, the only people. Now, except, of course, there's exceptions. The vast majority of people buying right now aren't, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Sixpack and their children. No, it's investors. So So what the banks did was they held back a lot of the inventory, because had they flooded the market with all their inventory, prices would have gone crashing, because there would have been such a glut of supply.
Not enough demand.
But it would have, at least it would have taken care of the problem fast and furious. Then prices, once that inventory was gone, the prices would go back up. Once the inventory was gone, and then demand, came back. Yep. But they didn't want to deal with that. And so what we have now is we have investors coming in and buying these properties up, and because the supply has been held back, there's this artificial increase in values, because it doesn't represent the real supply and the real demand out there, because it's been manipulated by the lenders. So it's not real. It's like everything else in this economy. It's fake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the unemployment, we could go on and on about that. But my friend said, well, they're using the same method of calculating unemployment they have been using for 20-something years. Yes, they are. They're
redefining the terms.
But what they're not telling you is, when they're giving you these unemployment figures, they're not telling you the workforce participation rate, which is the amount of people in the workforce. They're not presenting both the unemployment rate and the number of people out of the workforce. They're not telling you the whole story. They're telling you it's not a lie.
A version of the story.
It's not the full story.
It's a version of the story.
Yeah, I don't have any witty.
Well, not else. But also, they're also not telling you that the jobs that are being created are not all full time. Actually, they are, but they've redefined what constitutes full time. It's no longer 40 hours a week; it's 30 in their book.
Yeah, and as far as jobs, I heard the other day someone was referring to the United States and Canada and Europe as industrialized nations. Oh, really? Tell me what industry? How industrialized are we? Tell me what do we make anymore?
We're not industrial. We're not goods-based anymore. We're service-based.
Not only are we service-based, but our economy is fueled by consumption. And that consumption is only made possible by credit.
What was one of the biggest IPOs in the last 5 years? Facebook,
which is nothing.
What is Facebook? What's the product? There isn't. There's no product.
It's almost like it's a big joke being played on everybody. And everything's being sucked out of here, and this is by design. People don't think it's because of just one day somebody got up and said, well, I'm going to start making my product in China because it's cheap there. No, they did it purposely. They're taking the wealth out of these what they're doing is they're going to make a one world economy, and it's not going to be good, folks. Right now they've got people in China. They've got suicide nets at the Apple manufacturing plants in China, because their people are being worked to death and jumping to their deaths from the not the barracks, but their living quarters and stuff there.
Right.
So that's what they're doing. They're taking jobs that used to be for the middle class here in the United States, and they're purposely being sent overseas, where slave labor now does the jobs that middle class Americans used to do. And it's by design, and it's designed to destroy our economy.
Who designed it? You're talking about the government?
The
taxes and regulation.
But that's
part of it.
That was a means to the end. I mean, yeah, that's what did it, but that's not really what did it. I mean, there's a method to this madness, and if you can't look at the method, and if you look at it like a conspiracy theory, I can't help you. I'm sorry, but there's a reason. There's a real reason why we're in this situation as a country today. In order to have this one world government, this one world economy, what do you have to do to the most powerful country in the world?
Destroy it.
You have to, and that's economically, spiritually, and Obama's doing a dandy job of doing that right now. He's pitting Americans against Americans. So right now we've got the first thing already taken care of. The economy thing is, right now, this economy, if the movers and the shakers of this world wanted to, this economy would come crashing down on Monday morning if they wanted it to.
Like Atlas Shrugged.
But it's not it's not time yet. I think it's going to be in the fall, personally, if you understand the Shemitah, but I won't get into that right now. But that's one part of it. The other part's pitting Americans against Americans. So you've got tensions between blacks and whites and so forth. You've got shouts of racism. You've got the spirituality is being destroyed. You're getting churches that are just not even preaching the gospel anymore because they can't because they're in bed with the government. They're all 503Cs, what 501c3s.
Yeah.
So the government basically dictates what they can say in the pulpit. Mm-hmm. So right now we're being dismantled.
Yep.
And it's just don't know. We're prisoners, and we don't even recognize it yet. I do. It depends on if you're taking the blue or the red pill.
And it took me a little while to get to this realization because they were saying even before Obama was elected that we've lost a lot of our civil liberties or a lot of our freedoms, and I said I don't feel like we have. But then when I look at it, yeah, we do. What do you consider overtaxation, people? It's a form of slavery.
Of course it is. You tell me, have we gotten more free or less free since 9/11?
Less free.
That's where the conspiracy theories come into play. So for all those people that say, 9/11 was an inside job, look at their logic. I'm not saying I'm one of them. I'm just saying it's understandable. When you see what has gone down since then, we've had all of our liberty. We've got the Patriot Act. You get molested just to get on an airplane right now by the TSA.
Not to mention closed circuit TVs everywhere, TV cameras everywhere,
and they frighten you with the specter of terrorism.
And now I've read articles where if you have a webcam on your computer, they can spy on you in your own home, whether the computer's on or not.
That's why I put tape over mine. Sorry, paranoid, maybe. I mean,
if you got an Xbox,
the NSA has already proven that they can't be trusted.
Mm-hmm. Here's something. Hang on. If the body molestation exams at the airports are such a good thing, have they really contributed to your safety in the air?
No, it's just a way of getting people used to being prisoners.
Just like the maneuvers are doing in some of the southern, some of the cities around the country. I don't know if you folks heard about this. Kevin and I both were talking about it earlier today. But the U.S. Army, is it this weekend?
No, it's in July through September.
They're doing maneuvers in some major U.S. cities, mainly in the south and west.
It's Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Nevada, Utah, and I think Colorado.
Western and border states.
Yeah. Well, those are the ones where they know they're going to be getting the most pushback from.
Right. They're going to be doing maneuvers, which is going to basically, the end game is they want to see how the local populations react to having martial law imposed upon them by the Army. They want to do martial law. They're not going to actually impose martial law, but they're going to have military walking up and down the streets of these cities, major cities.
They call it play acting. They're going to be walking around with blanks
to see how people react.
Oh, I didn't tell you, Scott. I forgot to tell you this the other night. I had I don't know what was going. Anyway, it was. I had gone to sleep early. It was probably 10 o'clock, and I was just out. But all of a sudden, it felt like my roof was coming off. It was a police helicopter that had my whole backyard under their spotlight. The dog's going crazy, and I'm like, what? I gain my senses, get up, go to the front yard, and there's cops all in front of my house, the house next door. And they said, I said, what's going on here? Is this your house? Yes, it is. Well, go back in. And I'm like, what's going on? It's none of your business. And I'm like, okay. So my next door neighbor texts me and he says, what's going on? I said, I have no idea. To this day, I still have no idea. And this was on Monday or Tuesday night. I forget what night it was. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Have you ever had those helicopters shine the light down on your backyard?
Actually, I have. Not here, but I have seen it. But it was when they were searching for someone. Never just for no reason.
My next door neighbor, Chris, said, he said, "Did you know the cops were in your backyard too?" And I said, "No."
They're actually physically in the backyard?
Yes. Yeah. And several months ago, my next door neighbor went to prison.
Another neighbor.
Yeah, another neighbor went to prison because he's a criminal. And when they raided his house, I was in my office that looks out onto the street. And all of a sudden, what crosses my field of vision are two SWAT team guys in full armor with M16s walking past my window to my neighbor's yard. Now, mind you, I don't live in the ghetto, and it's not the most upscale neighborhood in the world.
It's nice, though.
But it's okay. So, and they look at me, and they point their finger to their lips like, shh. And I'm like, okay. So I get up, and I go in my backyard, and there's, 6 or 7 guys with M16s pointing them over the fence at the next door neighbor's yard and pointing them at my yard as well. So I've had, in the last year or so, I've had some real weird experiences with the militarization of our police force. Mm-hmm. You can't call it anything else. And they showed up, by the way, to bust my next door neighbor, who ended up being the architect of some burglary ring, as it turned out. But they showed up to his house with an armored vehicle, with just like if you ever watch Breaking Bad, the first scene, one of the first episodes where they show up to the meth house, with all those guys holding onto the armored vehicle. That's exactly what it was.
Yep.
And so, we live in, these are spooky times. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, here's another one. The average person doesn't understand, and we quit talking about it, but we need to talk more about it, is the passing of the NDAA, mm-hmm. the National Defense Authorization Act. And that was passed, by the way, was it New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve by Obama?
Something like that. And
it basically can disappear you. You've got no, if the government thinks you're an enemy of the state, you're, terrorist or whatever they want to call you, they can just come in with no due process, nothing, and mm-hmm. and just take you. That's what the NDAA and lily-lipped little Lindsey Graham thinks that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, once again, go back to Benjamin Franklin. Those who are willing to give up a little bit of liberty for a little bit of freedom deserve neither. I mean, for a little bit of security, deserve neither.
And see the game, folks. It's scary you. They got to scare you first. They got to make this boogeyman. Ooh, terrorism. Mm-hmm. It's so scary.
And now, it's not to say that it's not, but
you're the enemy, folks. They're making this whole web here. This whole mm-hmm. web is for you. It is not for Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah, whatever.
They have their willing accomplices in the media too. Example, I was talking to Kevin about this earlier. There's been a concerted effort since the end of last summer by this one group that's anti-gun that was formed after the Sandy Hook thing 2 years ago. Mothers for, I don't know. It always has mothers in it. If it has the word mothers in it or children, it's a bad group.
Yeah.
Anyway, they've been picketing and trying to force Kroger Foods, who own here in Phoenix, they own the Fry's supermarket chain. Fred Meyer's
in California, it's Vons.
Vons, yeah, and they own Fred Meyer's plus Kroger. They're trying to get Kroger to change their policy on allowing patrons to open carry weapons when they walk into their stores. They say our policy is whatever the local law says is what we go by.
Exactly.
And they are true to their word because I have seen people in the Fry's supermarkets here in Phoenix open carry. No, but in Phoenix, it's not a problem for the most part.
Nobody cares.
No one cares in Phoenix because this is the most gun-friendly state according to the NRA in the country. But, that being said, you read the account of all this on a leftist website, and I did, salon. And they have to bring out the radical element of the pro-open carry, who basically, and then their headline says, government or gun wackos, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there were disparaging terms in there. But they were bringing out the people who are in favor of open carry that are the wacko fringe. You're going to have wacko fringe on both sides.
But even the wacko fringe, Scott, the common man is not their target. The government's their target.
Right.
You know, they're not going to go into fries and you know, go ahead.
You didn't see what they did. I mean, they if what I read is true in Salon, these guys were wacko fringe and should be stopped by people like you and me.
I'm not against. No, I'm for you. I get it. But for the most part, they're anti-government.
They were yeah, but they're using tactics the left normally uses.
Well, okay. You know, we were talking about 9/11 conspiracy. Mm-hmm. Now again, I'm going to tell you not what I believe, but why I think conspiracy theorists abound, because there's reason for it. When you look at Sandy Hook, you look at what happened up in Columbine, and all those other situations. What happens the minute after one of those catastrophes happens?
Got to pass laws.
Exactly. So why do you think people get suspicious? Okay, so so you have to logically think, okay, if the government wanted to take away our Second Amendment rights, how would they go about doing it?
Slowly and incrementally.
Exactly, and that's why you get these people who sit there and question, the Alex Joneses of the world, sit there and question Sandy Hook, and they sit there and they question, things like the Boston bombing.
It's like the frog in the pot of boiling water.
Because if our government in the past hadn't been forthright and hadn't been as dishonest as they have been about a lot of things, you wouldn't have this, these people out there that thought that way, because they would have no reason to if they trusted their government.
They do it incrementally. They go a little bit here, a little bit there, gnaw away at your rights until finally they're got. It's like the pot and the frog in the pot of boiling water. You put a pot in a pot of water, or a frog in a pot of water. You turn up the heat on it on high. Dog, doesn't notice anything's happening until finally it starts boiling, and then it's too late. He finally notices that he's being boiled alive when it's too late to do anything about it. It's the same thing with all this. They try incrementally to take away your rights, gun rights, whatever right it is, folks.
I don't get the whole mentality of the leftist thought pattern. I mean, why would anybody willingly like to see their rights eroded? Does the Second Amendment scare people?
Who knows?
I don't brandish my weapon. I don't bring my gun into the grocery stores. Because you know why? I don't want to scare people. That's not my intent. I don't like the guys who sit there and brandish their weapons, because I think they're big pusses.
Well, once I get my concealed carry permit, I might bring it in concealed. I'm not going to brandish it though.
Oh no, there's nothing wrong with it. What I'm saying is, I've kept mine in my waistband before in certain circumstances, but I don't, even though I have the right to show the world, look at me, I've got a gun. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make people uncomfortable. And I'm always a little bit suspect of people that, and typically they have always have that same look with them. They usually have the dumb girl with the deer in the headlight looks, right next to them, and they're just, they got that look.
I mean, and it's like we were discussing. I just took that class 2 weeks ago, and I was talking about how the instructor. I mean, you can display your weapon to someone if it is with the intent of trying to quell something that can escalate. You can show them the weapon. Don't point at them. Once you point it, you're almost committed. But hold it up and say, look, I got a gun. Don't try anything. And then, but I was explaining that to the guys at work, and one of them didn't get it, and he's a gun owner. You just want to go around town and shoot people up. I said, no, that's not what I'm saying. I want to avoid it. Sometimes just showing the gun. Have you ever seen it on a TV show? When you got, let's say, a bad guy, right? And he meets a good guy on a park bench. And one of the first things a bad guy does is pulls pulls the pocket of his, or the side of his jacket open to show him, I got a gun, don't try anything. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
A show of force without using force.
I hope to, and I mean this with all my heart, I hope I am never put in a position where I have to use it.
The only time...
I really don't ever look forward to that day.
The only time I ever want to have to use my gun is when I'm practicing up at the range or using it to shoot food.
Yeah.
If it comes down to that. I don't want to ever have to use it on a human being. But I'll tell you what, if someone tries to break in my house, I'll sure as heck use it if I have to. It's like my boss. I was talking to my boss the other day. I said to him, you know, when they had us in this course, we only shot at a target 10 feet away. He says to me, and I had thought about this, he says, well, do you think if someone breaks into your house, they're going to be any farther away than 10 feet? I go, yeah, good point.
That's typically what you're shooting at. Mm-hmm. You know, the woman who, the group that's trying to get Kroger's to not allow people to carry their weapons, what does she think criminals are doing? Does she think that they're obeying laws? No, they're walking around in plain sight. Mm-hmm. You just don't know it.
Yep.
They're carrying.
Yep.
You know, I can walk into, name a bar anywhere in Phoenix, mm-hmm. Arizona, and I can tell you with a high level of certainty, if there's 100 people in the bar, I can tell you in Phoenix, Arizona, there's about 10 people that got guns on them.
And there are those that would say, well, what good does concealed carry do? Well, it's a deterrent, if nothing else, because if the bad guys in any given situation know that there might be some people carrying concealed like they are, they might think twice.
And what are
before they do something.
What are the true statistics regarding crimes or murders or what have you that are committed by lawfully, people who lawfully own weapons? It's very, very low. It's mm-hmm. like under 1%. Mm-hmm. The vast majority of crimes committed with weapons are unregistered or stolen handguns
mm-hmm. exactly.
by criminals.
Yep.
It is what it is. And the only deterrent to a criminal is a law-abiding citizen with a gun.
It's like force. You had to fight force with force, essentially.
Well, exactly. Especially these thugs. What else do they understand?
It's the exact opposite of what we're doing in the Middle East.
Here's a good example that kind of puts it in perspective. My next door neighbor is a biker, and mm-hmm. he looks like one too. He's all tatted up. Really, a good guy. He's a good neighbor. He's a good friend to have. You wouldn't want him as your enemy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
And he when he rides his bike, he said, you know, Kevin, I carry a gun on my side when I'm riding my bike, not because I'm trying to intimidate anybody. I ride it because people can be real jerks to motorcyclists out there. He says, I use it so that people treat me with respect and
it's visible.
Notice, and it's visible. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know what? It has helped. I have people who watch out for me now. And
I know people. I actually work with one guy who is a law-abiding gun owner who has had people on the road in a case of road rage start something, and he's just reached down, displayed his weapon, and they've calmed down right away.
You know,
and we're not saying point it at them. We're not saying that.
I've gotten angry on the road before. I don't know if you call it road rage. When I was younger, I don't, not so much anymore. I just let things mm-hmm. go anymore. But the idea of actually reaching for my gun to settle some stupid argument on the road is just something that just doesn't even
exactly. But if someone's going to come after you, I'm not necessarily saying they have a gun, but if they want to try to cause some trouble where they're really putting your life in danger, I think it pays to display.
Well, what I'm saying is there are people that have resorted to using guns for those stupid situations.
But I know, but I think it pays to at least display it to show them, look. You know, if they don't have a weapon, it'll say, like, calm down, don't even try what you're trying to do with me.
I'd be very careful in that situation myself. But
if they display it first, you got to show that you have one too.
Well, yeah. Well, it's just like that stupid criminal lived next door to me before he went to prison. He was always walking around with his mm-hmm. gun. And one day I said to him, you know what, loser? And I used to call him that too. I said, you know what, loser? You walk around like you think you're the only one in the world that has a gun. Mm-hmm. That everybody should be afraid of you. You better think long and you better think hard, because you know what? You can't tell it right now, but I'm armed too. So, always keep that in mind, bud.
and once I start carrying concealed, people are gonna. I'm gonna be a target. Now, I mean, I am now because I'm the last person you expect to be carrying a gun. Am I right? I'm pretty unassuming.
Yeah, he looks like Fred Flintstone.
All right, enough of that. Anyway, folks, that's enough for today. But we will be back next Saturday, God willing. Hopefully, we won't have to cancel.
God willing, and the creeks don't rise.
No, was it?
Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise.
No. John Dale. John Dale used to be a local talk show host here in Phoenix.
That was the other guy who just retired.
Mohan?
No, that just now retired on KFYI.
Oh, Barry Young?
Very Young.
He didn't say that.
Yes, he did.
It's John Young. John Dale used to say, but you're missing a part of it.
No, Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise. Now, he might have been the original one who said it, but trust me, Barry Young said it to the day he left.
John Dale had a second part to it, though. He would say, Lord willing, the creeks don't rise and the Russians don't drop the bomb.
Well, you know what the creeks were, right?
No.
They were Indians.
Oh, the Indian creeks. Yeah.
That's what it was. Indians, that would alluded to. Yeah. And the creeks don't rise in rebellion.
Russians don't drop the bomb. All right, folks, we'll see you next Saturday. Have a good week.
God bless you.